when life is messy, because I think so much of life, it is messy. Very few things go to plan. Very few eras of our life could we script out and with 100% certainty hit milestone after milestone after milestone in exactly the way we had envisioned. That almost never happens. And it doesn't mean that we're not to plan or think into the future, but it means life's messy. And I know just in this particular line of work, boy, you just see it over and over again. And so many things are just heartbreaking and hard and difficult. And yet we need to remember this thing about the messy. So as we go through this mess, it's important to remember that it's easy to kind of lapse into a different perspective on it. And I want to talk about this for a second. It's just not making any political commentary here. I just really wanted to learn more about Iran. So I've been reading up on the Iranian Revolution, which I remember as a kid in 1979, and sort of what's the theocracy behind it. And it was a theocracy that was based on this idea that religiously you could have these purity codes, and that these purity codes, that there were people who embodied that, and those people who embodied it were in charge, and they then could structure the government underneath them. And with this purity code, purity means either you're pure or you're impure, either you're in or you're out, either you're worthy or unworthy, and the unworthy folks were unfortunate. And you can imagine how by and large they were dealt with during the Iranian Revolution. So again, no political commentary there. This is just a commentary about what we can do with religion, because Christianity can do the same thing. Christianity can easily fall into, any denomination can easily fall into the idea of that there's purity out there, and our job is to enforce the purity, and if we're more pure, that things will work better. And that just is not how life works. Life is never pure, and we're always dealing with mixed motives. We're always dealing with people who are falling down. We're always dealing with ourselves falling down. We're always dealing with the mess. And the trick becomes, again, folks, is just to remember, like, there is this mess and that there's growth within it. And allowing even our religious faiths, like I think that the most robust faith we can have is a faith that's able to be inclusive of all that and be able to hold it and of course have values and of course have morals and of course have an idea of right and wrong. But it's also has this beautiful piece, this beautiful sort of edge to it where it doesn't get caught up in purity, but what it gets caught up in is, there's accountability, but there's also these things known as mercy and grace. And that if mercy and grace can sort of soften the edges of it, that's where religion really starts to be this incredibly powerful force in the world, because then it becomes welcoming to all people, and there are not purity codes and laws out there that are keeping the baddies out and allowing the goodies in. Now, could there be extremes of that where somebody's destructive of a church? Yeah, obviously, like there's extremes. But we're talking 99% of the time, that's not what's going to be present. What's going to be present is a lot of broken people. And that starts with all of us, right? And I do love the idea, right, that a church has a choice between one of two things. It can be either a museum for saints, or it can be a hospital for sinners. And I think probably hospital for sinners is more along the lines of what Jesus preached and how Jesus led and what he did. I mean, he was always out. He was always out there. He was not big into purity codes. And we see that time and time and time again, where he was doing things that were just so far beyond purity codes. That he was clearly, and he wasn't doing it like as a jerk, like I'm going to violate it, do my own thing. No, he's doing it just to soften the edges. Again, these reminders of mercy and grace. So that's the thought for today, friends. When life is messy, just remember those two words, the word mercy and the word grace, and bring that to it. And again, there'll be this egotistical way of like, but it's all about purity. And again, notice when we start shifting to it's all about purity, who do we put in the driver's seat? I think for most of us, when we start thinking along the lines of that we've got to create purity, we put ourselves and our particular faith and our particular perspective in the driver's seat. God's not in the driver's seat there. We think that we're in the driver's seat, even though we can use religious language to do it. So be really careful about that, and be really open to the grace and the mercy that can be on the outside, and keeping those edges soft. And whatever phrase you want to use, I like the phrase "keep the edges soft." I think that's a beautiful way to hold it. That's from Gabriel Lapachon, by the way. So, friends, that's what we're going to talk. That's what we're talking about. This we're going to leave you on today is just, remember those things as you go through the day. I also do want to throw out there a quick invite for tonight. It's connected to this topic, which is that this evening we do have a special dinner here at our house that Susan and I are hosting, and we're going to be doing a dinner on forgiveness and trust. Open conversation. It's not about me preaching anything. So if you're deeply religious or not deeply religious, or you have a friend who's deeply religious or not deeply religious, this is just a time for us to come and talk about forgiveness and trust and how the two go together, how we may be able to reestablish trust when relationships are being damaged, where there might be times to just walk away. I don't know which way the conversation will go. Be open-ended questions. We're looking forward to it a great deal. If that interests you, you can text me at 215-740-3662, and I will shoot you our address. We'd love to have you here tonight for our little conversation. All right, dear friends. So we're going to shift gears now. Come in for our soft landing. And our soft landing here at New Church Live is where we go through, we do a meditation out of the Old Testament. We do a prayer from the New. And we go back to the Old Testament and do what's called the Levitican blessing. And we take a look on Facebook and answer any comments people have, or note any comments people have. So you're more than welcome to hop on Facebook and do that as well, or just leave a written comment, given that the vast majority of folks listen to this service archived. So with that, dear friends, let's listen to the prayer bell. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's do a quick hop on here to Facebook and let us see what we can see here. Again, I hope all of you have a beautiful day ahead of you. We certainly do. We certainly do here. We have a great day ahead of us, actually. All right, come on, Nellie. Let's move. All right, cooperate. And we may not be cooperating the way I would want here. All right, there we go. Oh, flashed up. There we go. Now we're set. Linda, good morning to you. Hope you're doing well, my friend. And now flipping on over to the New Church Live page. Alrighty, dighty. Oh, come on, Nelly. All right, Marcus, and good morning to you. All right, dear friends, God bless. We will see if we see you tonight. Great. If we see you tomorrow, great as well. Take